Creepypasta. I remember that. I know you didn't ask, and you just came into my house unannounced without even knocking either, which is kind of rude. But I'm moving on from that, because this is my first time having a guest at my house in a while. So thank you for stopping by, and I don't know what brought you here, which is a little concerning. And I know what you're wondering. Why is my house in the middle of the woods? Well, the guy that used to own this house just gave it to me. He said, I just have no use for it anymore. He was a very tall fellow, very slender. He had a suit on. No face. No, I didn't question it, okay? A free house is a free house. And I don't even have to pay for anything. Oh, Creepypasta? Yeah. What I just mentioned, like not even 10 seconds ago? Well, back in my day, there was a deep obsession with Creepypasta. It was a time to be alive. Especially when it was at its peak in middle school or high school, for whoever listens. The animations that were made of the characters were wonderful. Fanfics made of it. Yeah, there was something alright. Oh! And don't let me forget the specific genre of fanfics. The lemons. Oh, those lemons. I don't think that was very appropriate for me to read as a kid, but hey, I read it. Or even the nice music videos that were made of it. And this was back in the time too where editing was just at its peak. And who would have known that some fantastic editing of those music videos or Creepypasta would be so popular. Or even the very interesting fan art that came from that era of my life. But anyways, enough about me. I just have one question. Why haven't you touched your PNG of a hot chocolate that I refused to cut the background of because I became very lazy while editing this video? It's cold. Interesting. You can just get out. Just get out of my house at this point because I don't even know who you are and you just came in here unannounced. So what if the door just opened? There's no reason for you just to come in. I'm just saying that there's no reason for a stranger. Wow, what a weird guy. Anyways, hello. Welcome to my very first video ever, which is a lie. I'm Vals. You can call me Val. No difference whatsoever. Basically, what I want this channel to be filled with for the further future is just posting my art and talking about my middle school phases, such as Creepypasta, Homestuck. That's all I can think of right now, but I'm sure I'll be able to come up with something sooner or later. Now, I would be lying saying that I never posted on YouTube before and this is my very first video ever. I used to have a channel called Cozy Crime. I used to run that channel with my best friend. She's still my best friend, okay? Let me just explain what happened. The channel is like 2 years old by now and we haven't posted in like 2 years. Nothing happened to make us end the channel. We just never had time to record together anymore. The setup was tough to get used to considering we were sharing a mic, and at the time we would record, it was nighttime, which made it like a bit hard to be loud. And then there was also the fact that we were both in college and working, so that made things 10 times harder. Our schedules would not line up well, where we had a day off together or one of us just couldn't go out, and it was just a whole thing. But hey, if you're interested and you're also want to hear some, like, I don't know, us yapping and talking about like reading creepypastas, then I'm just gonna drop the link in the description down below of both our YouTube channel and Spotify. And surprisingly, I don't know why I just said Spotify. It's a Spotify podcast. Our podcast actually does pretty well and people still listen to it, which thank you for those who do listen to it, and for those who don't, I don't really care. But I would say we had some good times while it lasted.
She came over.
Cheers, Lars, rotting on Jack Frost nipping at your nose.
That's my favorite singer.
Yeah, she just sends me stuff like that all the time.
I used to live stream. Screams and feast on your screams.
I don't want to hear it.
Well, now that I gave you a simple introduction, let's talk about creepypasta. But for those who don't really know what creepypasta is, this is what Google defines it as. Creepypasta is a term for horror stories, images or legends that are shared online. The stories are often short, user-generated, and intended to scare readers. Basically, it's just a big website that has all the creepypastas, you know. Either people just create it, or even some people would just post it on DeviantArt of their stories of creepypasta characters that they came up with. And some of them did become very popular, some of them didn't. It's like a whole thing, but I won't get too much into like creepypasta as a whole. Now, for this occasion, I figured this image behind me really fits with what I'm going to talk about. If you know, you know. But if you don't, let me explain a little. Basically, in the fandom, they created this thing where Slender Man has a mansion in the middle of the woods that all creepypastas live in. Does it make sense? Well, no. But did I have fun imagining I lived in that mansion with my favorite characters as a kid? Yes. Because who wouldn't? Now, I know what you're thinking. But Val, isn't the house just full of serial killers? Yes. Did I ever take that seriously as a child and consider the fact that these people, if they were real, that they could kill me? No, I actually didn't. And now that I'm saying this out loud, I sound so fucking stupid. But from what I can understand, there was also some other context of the Slenderman's mansion. The part of he would have a mansion in the middle of the woods to kill people or their families if they don't sacrifice a human in his name. Now, doesn't that sound so sweet? I would go in more detail about him, but this video really has nothing to do with him, like at all. He's not mentioned in anything that I'm about to read today. So I just wanted to provide some context for those who have never really were in the creepypasta fandom and genuinely have no idea what the hell I'm talking about. Now, the fandom itself was interesting to say the least. There was one side that didn't acknowledge the fact that the people in creepypasta were serial killers, or the other side that did acknowledge it. It would make some pretty interesting things from it. Now, before you say anything, there was nothing wrong with either side you were in. It's a fandom. Have fun with it. And literally, who cares about some fictional characters? Now, did some people ruin creepypasta for others? Yeah, but that's in every fandom, unfortunately, so it's just bound to happen. And when the time comes that I do make a video about the fandom itself, I will discuss some issues that did happen to where some people may have removed their character from creepypasta, or they just don't want to be associated with it anymore, or some of the controversial things that happen in the fandom. But for right now, I'm just planning to make a separate video for the fandom as a whole. But to give you some, like, just a little taste of the creepypasta fandom, let me name some of the most popular characters that I remember from the top of my head, which is Jeff the Killer, Ben Drown, Tiki Toby, Slenderman, Eyelash Jack, Laughing Jack, and Hoodie and Masky. I know I missed a whole bunch, but this is just a general list for now. And also, I just named the really, 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 really popular characters. Now, some people on this list you may not recognize, and that's perfectly fine, because as I said before, like, for the 10th time I will say this, I will be making a separate video about the fandom and some of the characters that were a part of the creepypasta fandom. Now, in today's video, I'll be discussing and reading the story of the very popular and known creepypasta, Jeff the Killer. So I did research some stuff. Some of it is from Google itself, but the other is from the actual official creepypasta website, where they had some information provided before like the actual story of Jeff the Killer happened. So, the first ever appearance of the famous image of Jeff the Killer was back in 2005 on a Japanese message board. The original image is what became a huge mystery within the fandom, or those that love conspiracy theories, since no one knows where the original image came from. Now, I'm not up to date with like the image and if the image has already been like found and people already know what the original image is, but if not, there are plenty of videos out there that like talk about the conspiracy theory of the origins of this image or what could the original image be. So I recommend checking those out if you would like to know more about what could be the possible original image of the infamous Jeff the Killer. But moving on to like the actual story and like some of the background information on it, I guess. The original was posted in 2011, which is the one that many remember from like middle school or high school. Well, at least that's the story that I remember. So if you do remember anything about the original story, you might remember how I don't know how to say this without sounding mean, so I'm just going to say it. Badly it was written. I think it was just written by a kid, in my opinion. That's how I see it. Okay, if it's not, like, I don't know what to tell you. Now, I googled who the original creator is, since I guess this is like a re-upload of the original story on the Creepypasta website, and from Google it says it was created by Jeffrey D. Case. I don't know if that's correct or not. So if it's not and you know who the actual original creator is, you can let me know. If not, just credit to them for the original story. Since the story was so bad, from what I understand, it was removed and it was just re-uploaded later on. And let's be honest, like anything can ever be deleted from the internet. You just know it's going to be re-uploaded. So there was actually a competition that was held to see who could write a better version of the story. And with that, the reboot of Jeff the Killer came in 2015 by the name K. Banning Kellum, which is the version that other people got pretty familiar with. And from what I understand, that it got really popular. And that's the version that people read. In today's episode, I'm just going to be reading the original version, plus some of the information provided in the very beginning before the actual story. I'll cover the reboot of the story in another episode, since it is much longer than the original. I really wouldn't like to make my first video too long, so keep an eye out for that. And I'll even read the fanfic that was made into an actual book in that episode. Most likely not, since the book is like 76 pages long and 6 chapters. So I might read like a sliver of it on like the reboot version of Jeff the Killer. But if not, I will most likely make a separate video of me just reading that, because I feel like we could just sit together and read it as a family. No? Yeah? No, yeah? So the book, the fanfic that I'm talking about, like the book that I'm literally just spewing on about, is called Jeff the Killer, Go to Sleep, Insanity, written by Nisha N. Nicholson. Now, the original creator of this book explained she created it when she was like 15, and so she said she knows it's bad. It was released on Amazon in 2015, and she had no idea what she was doing. She wrote it for a competition, and it's available on Amazon. And she before anybody thinks I'm just lying out of my ass of what the creator said about their own book, I'll post the video that she posted herself on Amazon where her book is available.
Hello everyone, I'm Nisha Nicholson, the author of this book. I just wanted to say I wrote this when I was 15, and so I completely understand if you guys hate it. I mean, I had no idea what I was doing at the time. I was just writing for a contest, which I won, and so if you'd like, I can try rewriting it. I don't know if I'll have the time, but the second book has gotten some good reviews, and just disregard the first one. I know it's really bad. Even I hate it. So, thanks for buying it, and I will see you soon.
Look, I'm not even going to judge. I would have killed to get something I wrote about creepypasta get, like, made into an actual book that people can actually purchase. Because I did write some fanfics when I was a kid. Am I gonna talk about it? Maybe in another video because it's really, really cringe. But here's a picture of my OC that I made. This is an actual picture from like middle school, so don't judge my art too much because I was still learning. Okay? And if that doesn't interest you to already like listen to me read the book or purchase the book yourself, let me read you the back of the book. So, you know, you really know what you're really getting into before you purchase this book or read it with me. Bullies and liars beware. A new threat is arising. Naomi Jameson just wanted to have a normal, carefree life until she met Jeff at summer camp. Jeff is a laid-back teenage boy with a dark secret. Then one morning at camp, Naomi hears that one of her longtime bullies, Mallory, was found dead in her cabin. Naomi suspects Jeff at first, but then decides that he's too sweet to do something like that, until a series of events changes her mind and her outlook on sanity. Doesn't that sound beautiful? Doesn't that sound amazing? Exactly. So why wouldn't you waste an hour of your life away by listening to me read it to you? But yeah, I'm just going to drop the link of the book down in the description so whoever wants it can get it. It's like $5. Best $5 I ever like spent in my whole entire life. And people actually read it too. So I don't know why I'm advertising this as if I actually like got sponsored by this person to advertise their book that they made when they were 15 and that they know it's embarrassing and bad. But I'm just gonna still advertise it because this is fun. This is fun to just advertise the most random thing on here. Okay, moving on. I know this is what you've been waiting for. On to the actual story of Jeff the Killer. Just for a warning before I actually get into the story, I want to just say that I may not be the greatest reader, okay? I'm doing this for fun, and also there might be some grammar mistakes or spelling mistakes, so bear with me. This first portion that I'm going to read is just something they included before the actual story. As recognizable and widely known as he is feared, Jeff the Killer, the eponymous villain of numerous stories littering the internet, is one of the best known and most widely referenced creepypasta characters to have emerged from the shadowy corners of the web over the past few decades. But exactly who or what is this infamous denizen of the darkness? Where did the character come from? How has it evolved? And from which horrific pit of hell or the internet did that haunting image emerge? Overview and synopsis of Jeff the Killer at a glance. Firstly, for those unfamiliar with the character Jeff the Killer, the most widely known creepypasta on this character can be found here. The image is usually linked to a version of this image in which the story is shown to be noseless, with bleached white skin, a leering permanent grin, and lank black hair. They provided like a brief summary of the whole story, and I'm not going to read it because I feel like that would defeat the whole purpose of me actually reading the story. So just letting you know. Jeff the Killer creepypasta story. Excerpt from a local newspaper. Anonymous unknown killer is still at large. After weeks of unexplained murders, the anonymous unknown killer is still on the rise. After little evidence have been found, a young boy states that he survived one of the killer's attacks and bravely tells his story. I had a bad dream, and I woke up in the middle of the night, says the boy. I saw that for some reason the window was open, even though I remember it being closed before I went to bed. I got up and shut it once more. Afterwards, I simply crawled under the covers and tried to get back to sleep. That's when I had a strange feeling like someone was watching me. I looked up and nearly jumped out of my bed. There, in the little ray of light, illuminating between my curtains, were a pair of two eyes. These weren't regular eyes. They were dark, ominous eyes. They were bordered in black and, just plain out, terrified me. That's when I saw his mouth, a long, horrendous smile that made every hair on my body stand up. The figure stood there, watching me. Finally, after what seems like forever, he said it. A simple phrase, but said in a way only a madman could speak. He said, "Go to sleep." I let out a scream. That's what sent him at me. He pulled up a knife, aiming at my heart. He jumped on my bed. I fought him back. I kicked, I punched, I rolled around trying to knock him off of me. That's when my dad busted in. The man threw the knife. It went into my dad's shoulder. The man probably would have finished him off if one of my neighbors hadn't alerted the police. They drove into the parking lot and ran towards the door. The man turned and ran down the hallway. I heard a smash, like glass breaking. As I came out of my room, I saw the window that was pointing towards the back of my house was broken. I looked out to see him vanish in the distance. I can tell you one thing. I will never forget that face, those cold, evil eyes, and that psychotic smile. They will never leave my head. Police are still on the look for this man. If you see anyone that fits the description in this story, please contact your local police department. Jeff and his family had just moved into a new neighborhood. His dad has gotten a promotion at work, and they thought it would be best to live in one of those fancy neighborhoods. Jeff and his brother Leo couldn't complain though. A new, better house. What was not to love? As they were getting unpacked, one of their neighbors came by. "Hello," she said. "I'm Barbara. I live across the street from you? Well, I just wanted to introduce myself and to introduce my son." She turns around and calls her son over. "Billy, these are our new neighbors." Billy said hi and ran back to play in his yard. "Well," said Jeff's mom, "I'm Margaret, and this is my husband Peter, and my two sons Jeff and Leo." They each introduced themselves, and then Barbara invited them to her son's birthday. Jeff and his brother were about to object when their mother said that they would love to. When Jeff and his family were done packing, Jeff went up to his mom. "Mom, why would you invite us to some kid's party? If you hadn't noticed, I'm not some dumb kid." "Jeff," said his mother, "we just moved here. We should show that we want to spend time with our neighbors. Now, we're going to that party, and that's final." Jeff started to talk, but stopped himself knowing that he couldn't do anything. Whenever his mom said something, it was final. He walked up to his room and plopped down on his bed. He sat there looking at his ceiling when suddenly he got a weird feeling. Not so much pain, but a weird feeling. He dismissed it as just some random feeling. He heard his mother call him down to get his stuff, and he walked down to get it. The next day, Jeff walked downstairs to get breakfast and got ready for school. As he sat there eating his breakfast, he once again got that feeling. This time, it was stronger. It gave him a slight tugging pain, but he once again dismissed it. As he and Leo finished breakfast, they walked down to the bus stop. They sat there waiting for the bus, and then, all of a sudden, some kid on a skateboard jumped over them, only inches above their laps. They both jumped back in surprise. "Hey, what the hell?" The kid landed and turned back to them. He kicked his skateboard up and caught it with his hands. The kid seemed to be about 12, 1 year younger than Jeff. He wears an Aeropostale shirt and ripped blue jeans. "Well, well, well, it looks like we got some new meat." Suddenly, 2 other kids appeared. One was super skinny and the other one was huge. "Well, since you're new here, I'd like to introduce ourselves. Over there is Keith." Jeff and Leo looked over to the skinny kid. He had a dopey face that you would expect a sidekick to have. "And he's Troy." They looked over at the fat kid. Talk about a tub of lard. This kid looked like he hadn't exercised since he was crawling. "And I," said the first kid, "am Randy. Now, for all the kids in this neighborhood, there's a small price for bus fare, if you catch my drift." Leo stood up, ready to punch the lights out of this kid's eyes, when one of his friends pulled a knife on him. "Tis, tis, tis. I had hoped you would be more cooperative, but it seems we must do this the hard way." The kid walked up to Leo and took his wallet out of his pocket. Jeff got that feeling again. Now, it was truly strong. A burning sensation. He stood up, but Leo gestured him to sit down. Jeff ignored him and walked up to the kid. "Listen here, you little punk. Give back my bro's wallet or else." Randy put the wallet in his pocket and pulled out his own knife. "Oh? And what will you do?" Just as he finished the sentence, Jeff popped the kid in the nose. As Randy reached for his face, Jeff grabbed the kid's wrist and broke it. Randy screamed and Jeff grabbed the knife from his hand. Troy and Keith rushed Jeff, but Jeff was too quick. He threw Randy to the ground. Keith lashed at him, but Jeff ducked and stabbed him in the arm. Keith dropped his knife and fell to the ground screaming. Troy rushed him too, but Jeff didn't even need the knife. He just punched Troy straight in the stomach and Troy went down. As he fell, he puked all over. Leo could do nothing but look in amazement at Jeff. "Jeff, how'd you—" was all he said. They saw the bus coming and knew they would be blamed for the whole thing, so they started running as fast as they could. As they ran, they looked back and saw the bus driver rushing over to Randy and the others. As Jeff and Leo made it to school, they didn't dare tell what happened. All they did was sit and listen. Leo thought of that as his brother beating up a few kids, but Jeff knew it was more. It was something scary. As he got that feeling, he felt how powerful it was, the urge to just hurt someone. He didn't like how it sounded, but he couldn't help feeling happy. He felt that strange feeling go away and stay away for the entire day of school. Even as he walked home due to the whole thing near the bus stop, and how now he probably wouldn't be taking the bus anymore, he felt happy. When he got home, his parents asked him how his day was, and he said in a somewhat ominous voice, "It was a wonderful day." Next morning, he heard a knock at his front door. He walked down to find 2 police officers at the door, his mother looking back at him with an angry look. "Jeff, these officers tell me that you attacked 3 kids, that it wasn't regular fighting, and that they were stabbed. Stabbed, son!" Jeff's gaze fell to the floor, showing his mother that it was true. "Mom, they were the ones who pulled the knives on me and Leo." "Son," said one of the cops, "we found 3 kids, 2 stabbed, 1 having a bruise on his stomach, and we have witnesses proving that you fled the scene. Now, what does that tell us?" Jeff knew it was no use. He could say him and Leo had been attacked, but then there was no proof it was not them who attacked first. They couldn't say that they weren't fleeing, because truth be told, they were. So Jeff couldn't defend himself or Leo. "Son, call down your brother." Jeff couldn't do it, since it was he who beat up all the kids. "Sir, it was me. I was the one who beat up the kids. Leo tried to hold me back, but he couldn't stop me." The cop looked at his partner and they both nod. "Well, kid, looks like a year in juvie." "Wait!" says Leo. They all look up to see him holding a knife. The officers pulled their guns and locked them on Leo. "It was me. I beat up those punks. I have the marks to prove it." He lifted up his sleeve to reveal cuts and bruises as if he was in a struggle. "Son, just put the knife down," said the officer. Leo held up the knife and dropped it to the ground. He put his hands up and walked over to the cops. "No, Leo, it was me. I did it." Jeff had tears running down his face. "Huh, poor bro, trying to take the blame for what I did. Well, take me away." The police led Leo out to the patrol car. "Leo, tell them it was me. Tell them. I was the one who beat up those kids." Jeff's mother put her hands on his shoulders. "Jeff, please. You don't have to lie. We know it's Leo. You can stop." Jeff watched helplessly as the cop car speeds off with Leo inside. A few minutes later, Jeff's dad pulled into the driveway, seeing Jeff's face and knowing something was wrong. Son, what is it?" Jeff couldn't answer. His vocal cords restrained from crying. Instead, Jeff's mother walked his father inside to break the bad news to him as Jeff wept in the driveway. After an hour or so, Jeff walked back into the house, seeing that his parents were both shocked, sad, and disappointed. He couldn't look at them. He couldn't see how they thought of Leo when it was his fault. He just went to sleep, trying to get the whole thing out of his mind. 2 days went by, with no word from Leo at JDC. No friends to hang out with, nothing but sadness and guilt. That is, until Saturday, when Jeff is woken up by his mother with a happy, sunshiny face. "Jeff, it's the day," she said as she opened the curtains and let light flood into his room. "What? What's today?" asked Jeff as he stirs awake. "Why, it's Billy's party." He was now fully awake. "Mom, you're joking, right? You don't expect me to go to some kid's party after—" There was a long pause. "Jeff, we both know what happened. I think this party could be the best thing that brightens up the past days. Now, get dressed." Jeff's mother walked out the room and downstairs to get ready herself. He fought himself to get up. He picked out a random shirt and a pair of jeans and walked downstairs. He saw his mother and father all dressed up, his mother in a dress and his father in a suit. He thought why they would ever wear such fancy clothes to a kid's party. "Son, is that all you're going to wear?" said Jeff's mom. "Better than wearing too much," he said. His mother pushed down the feeling to yell at him and hid it with a smile. "Now, Jeff, we may be overdressed, but this is how you go if you want to make an impression," said his father. Jeff grunted and went back up to his room. "I don't have any fancy clothes," he yelled downstairs. "Just pick something out," called his mother. He looked around in his closet for what he would call fancy. He found a pair of black dress pants he had for special occasions and an undershirt. He couldn't find a shirt to go with it, though. He looked around and found only striped and patterned shirts, none of which he would go with dress pants. Finally, he found a white hoodie and put it on. "You're wearing that?" they both said. His mother looked at her watch. "Oh, no time to change. Let's just go," she said as she herded Jeff and his father out the door. They crossed the street over to Barbara and Billy's house. They knocked on the door, and at it appeared that Barbara, just like his parents, way overdressed. As they walked inside, all Jeff could see were adults, no kids. "The kids are out in the yard." "Jeff, how about you go meet some of them?" said Barbara. Jeff walked outside to a yard full of kids. They were running around in weird cowboy costumes and shooting each other with plastic guns. He might as well be standing in a Toys R Us. Suddenly, a kid came up to him and handed him a toy gun and hat. This is like a cut into the story, like a pause, because just a heads up, there's trigger warning for very cringy, like, kids language, I guess. "Hey, wanna play?" he said. "Ah, no, kid, I'm way too old for that stuff." The kid looked at him with that weird puppy dog face. "Please," said the kid. "Fine," said Jeff. He put on his hat and started to pretend shoot at the kids. At first, he thought it was totally ridiculous, but then he started to actually have fun. It might not have been super cool, but it was his first time he had done something that took his mind off of Leo. So he played with the kids for a while, until he heard a noise. A weird rolling noise. Then it hit him. Randy, Troy, and Keith all jumped over the fence on their skateboards. Jeff dropped the fake gun and ripped off the hat. Randy looked at Jeff with a burning hatred. "Hello, Jeff, is it?" he said. "We have some unfinished business." Jeff saw his bruised nose. "I think we're even. I beat the crap out of you and you get my brother sent to JDC. Randy got an angry look in his eyes. "Oh no, I don't go for even. I go for winning. You may have kicked our asses that one day, but not today." As he said that, Randy rushed at Jeff. They both fell to the ground. Randy punched Jeff in the nose, and Jeff grabbed him by the ears and headbutted him. Jeff pushed Randy off of him, and both rose to their feet. Kids were screaming, and parents were running out of the house. Troy and Keith both pulled guns out of their pockets. "No one interrupts, or guts will fly," they said. Randy pulled a knife on Jeff and stabbed it into his shoulder. Jeff screamed and fell to his knees. Randy started kicking him in the face. After 3 kicks, Jeff grabs his foot and twists it, causing Randy to fall to the ground. Jeff stood up and walked towards the back door. Troy grabbed him. "Need some help?" He picks Jeff up by the back of the collar and throws him through the patio door. As Jeff tries to stand, he is kicked down to the ground. Randy repeatedly starts kicking Jeff until he starts to cough up blood. "Come on, Jeff, fight me!" He picks Jeff up and throws him into the kitchen. Randy sees a bottle of vodka on the counter and smashes a glass over Jeff's head. "Fight!" He throws Jeff back into the living room. "Come on, Jeff, look at me!" Jeff glances up, his face riddled with blood. "I was the one who got your brother sent to JDC, and now you're just gonna sit here and let him rot in there for a whole year? You should be ashamed." Jeff starts to get up. "Oh, finally, you stand up and fight." Jeff is now to his feet, blood and vodka on his face. Once again, he gets that strange feeling, the one in which he hadn't felt for a while. Finally, he's up. says Randy as he runs at Jeff. That's when it happens. Something inside Jeff snaps. His psyche is destroyed. All rational thinking is gone. All he can do is kill. He grabs Randy and pile drives him to the ground. He gets on top of him and punches him straight in the heart. The punch causes Randy's heart to stop. As Randy gasps for air, Jeff hammers down on him, punch after punch. Blood gushes from Randy's body until he takes one final breath and dies. Everyone is looking at Jeff now. The parents, the crying kids, even Troy and Keith. Although they easily break from their gaze and point their guns at Jeff, Jeff sees the guns trained on him and runs for the stairs. As he runs, Troy and Keith let out fire on him, each shot missing. Jeff runs upstairs. He hears Troy and Keith follow up behind. As they let out their final rounds of bullets, Jeff ducks into the bathroom. He grabs a towel rack and rips it off the wall. Troy and Keith race in, knives ready. Troy swings his knife at Jeff, who backs away and bangs the towel rack into Troy's face. Troy goes down hard, and now all that's left is Keith. He is more agile than Troy, though, and ducks when Jeff swings the towel rack. He dropped the knife and grabbed Jeff by the neck. He pushed him into the wall. A thing of bleach fell down on top of him from the top shelf. It burnt both of them, and they both started to scream. Jeff wiped his eyes as best as he could. He pulled back the towel rack and swung it straight into Keith's head. As he lay there, bleeding to death, he let out an ominous smile. "What's so funny?" asked Jeff. Keith pulled out a lighter and switched it on. "What's funny," he said, "is that you're covered in bleach and alcohol." Jeff's eyes widened as Keith threw the lighter at him. As soon as the flames made contact with him, the flames ignited the alcohol in the vodka. While the alcohol burned him, the bleach bleached his skin. Jeff let out a terrible screech as he is caught on fire. He tried to roll out the fire, but it was no use. The alcohol had made him a walking inferno. He ran down the hall and fell down the stairs. Everyone started screaming as they saw Jeff, now a man on fire, dropped to the ground, nearly dead. The last thing Jeff saw was his mother and the other parents trying to extinguish the fire. That's when he passed out. When Jeff woke up, he had a cast wrapped around his face. He couldn't see anything, but he felt a cast on his shoulder and stitches all over his body. He tried to stand up, but he realized that there was some tube in his arm, and when he tried to get up, it fell out and a nurse rushed in. "I don't think you can get out of bed just yet," she said, as she put him back in his bed and reinserted the tube. Jeff sat there, with no vision, no idea what his surroundings were. Finally, after hours, he heard his mother. "Honey, are you okay?" she asked. Jeff couldn't answer, though. His face was covered, and he was unable to speak. "Oh, honey, I have great news. After all the witnesses told the police that Randy confessed to trying to attack you, they decided to let Leo go." This made Jeff almost bolt up, stopping halfway, remembering the tube coming out of his arm. "He'll be out by tomorrow, and then you two will be able to be together again." Jeff's mother hugs Jeff and says her goodbyes. The next couple of weeks were those where Jeff was visited by his family. Then came the day where his bandages were to be removed. His family members were all there to see it, what he would look like. As the doctors unwrapped the bandages from Jeff's face, everyone was on the edge of their seats. They waited until the last bandage, holding the cover over his face, was almost removed. "Let's hope for the best," said the doctor. He quickly pulls the cloth, letting the rest fall from Jeff's face. Jeff's mother screams at the sight of his face. Leo and Jeff's dad stare awestruck at his face. "What? What happened to my face?" Jeff said. He rushed out the bed and ran to the bathroom. He looked in the mirror and saw the cause of distress. His face. It's horrible. His lips were burnt to a deep shade of red. His face was turned into a pure white color, and his hair singed from brown to black. He slowly put his hands to his face. It had a sort of leathery feel to it now. He looked back at his family, then back at the mirror. "Jeff," said Leo, "it's not that bad." "Not that bad," said Jeff. "It's perfect!" His family was equally surprised. Jeff started laughing uncontrollably. His parents noticed that his left eye and hand were twitching. Jeff, are you okay?" "Okay? I never felt more happy." I am not going to laugh for this part, so just bear with me. Ha 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 ha! Look at me! This face goes perfectly with me! He couldn't stop laughing. He stroked his face, feeling it, looking at it in the mirror. What caused this? Well, you may recall that when Jeff was fighting Randy, something in his mind, his sanity, snapped. Now he was left as a crazy killing machine. That is, his parents didn't know. Doctor, said Jeff's mom, is my son all right, in the head? Oh, yes. This behavior is typical for patients that have taken very large amount of painkillers. If his behavior doesn't change in a few weeks, bring him back here, and we'll give him a psychological test. Oh, thank you, doctor. Jeff's mother went over to Jeff. Jeff, sweetie, it's time to go. Jeff looks away from the mirror. His face still formed into a crazy smile. "'Kay, mommy. Ha ha ha." His mother took him by the shoulders and took him to get his clothes. "This is what came in," said the lady at the desk. Jeff's mom looks down to see the black dress pants and white hoodie her son wore. Now they were clean of blood and now stitched together. Jeff's mother led him to his room and made him put his clothes on. Then they left, not knowing that this was their final day of living. Later that night, Jeff's mother woke up to a sound coming from the bathroom. It sounded as if someone was crying. She slowly walked over to see what it was. When she looked into the bathroom, she saw a horrendous sight. Jeff had taken a knife and carved a smile into his cheeks. "Jeff, what are you doing?" asked his mother. Jeff looked over to his mother. "I couldn't keep smiling, Mommy. It hurt after a while. Now I can smile forever." Jeff's mother noticed his eye, ringed in black. "Jeff, your eyes!" His eyes were seemingly never closing. "I couldn't see my face. I got tired and my eyes started to close. I burned out the eyelid so I could forever see myself, my new face." Jeff's mother slowly started to back away, seeing that her son was going insane. "What's wrong, Mommy? Aren't I beautiful?" "Yes, son," she said. "Yes, you are. Let me go get your daddy so he can see your face." She ran into the room and shook Jeff's dad from his sleep. "Honey, get the gun, She stopped as she saw Jeff in the doorway, holding a knife. "Mommy, you lied." That's the last thing they hear as Jeff rushes them with the knife, gutting both of them. His brother Leo woke up, startled by some noise. He didn't hear anything else, so he just shut his eyes and tried to go back to sleep. As he was on the border of slumber, he got the strangest feeling that someone was watching him. He looked up before Jeff's hand covered his mouth. He slowly raised the knife, ready to plunge into Leo. Leo thrashed here and there, trying to escape Jeff's grip. "Shh," Jeff said. "Just go to sleep." And that, ladies and gentlemen, was the end of the original story from 2011 of Jeff the Killer. Now, I know that the story wasn't great, okay? It's a little cringy, in my opinion at least, And I'm not going to really blame the creator of this because who knows what age they were when they made this. And I'm sure they already got enough shit for it from the internet when it literally got taken down and people keep re-uploading it and here I am reading it. But yeah, it's very, very interesting compared to especially the other stories I've read of creepypastas when I was younger. I feel like this is one of the lower ranking ones in my opinion, but it's just my opinion, okay? Everybody is entitled to it. And if you enjoyed it as much as I did, I didn't enjoy some of the portions of it because canonically, I don't even know if that's a real word, but technically in this story, Jeff is 13 years old. And I think that's what's even crazier is that these kids are 12 to 13. They didn't specify Leo's age. Oh, just a little thing too. I don't know if I'm pronouncing Jeff's brother's name wrong or anything because I googled it of how to pronounce it and it just says Leo. Okay, so if I got it wrong and you were cringing the whole time I said his name wrong, I'm sorry, but that's just what I seen on Google, so I'm sorry. Moving on from that, yeah, it's just a bunch of 12 to 13-year-old boys at this kid's birthday party. Parents not being able to do anything. I guarantee you, realistically, one of the parents would be able to just tackle the kid and take the gun at the very end of the day. But you know what? It's a story for a reason. And I found it kind of funny because that's all I can picture in my mind. And that's also why the thumbnail looks the way it does, because Jeff, technically in this story, is 13 years old. He's a kid. And I think in the reboot version of Jeff the Killer, they aged him up, because from when I skimmed the story, he was talking about touching some girl's boob. So they aged him up, okay? Just to give you a heads up when I do come out with the episode of the reboot, which who knows when that comes out. But overall, my opinion about this story is it's interesting, to say the least. But that concludes this video. Yeah, I don't have any social media except like a TikTok that I'll put down in the description. I haven't posted on there for God knows when. And it just has my art. It doesn't really have anything to do with my YouTube channel. You can just check it out if you want. And like I said at the very beginning too, down in the description, I'm also going to have like the original link to this creepypasta story and my old YouTube channel, Cozy Crime, both YouTube and Spotify podcast down there. I'll try having a set like upload schedule, but who really knows with me, because I lose motivation for stuff that I start very fast, unfortunately. So who knows, maybe this is just the last episode that I ever make and never progress from there. But thank you for listening or watching, and I hope you have an amazing night. Love you. Mwah.